Okay, at the beach essay notes. Your prompt is look back and write. Look back at page 183. Explain in your own words what led Fernando to confess. Okay? Then you have the remember you should box. I'm on this piece of paper right here. So make sure you're on this paper following me. 1, you need to explain what led Fernando to confess. 2, use your own words to answer the question. 3, use details from the story to support your ideas. 4, communicate your ideas clearly so the reader understands. And 5, as always, make sure you check your spelling, capitalization, punctuation, grammar, and sentence structure. Okay, race to respond. Flip to the back of your paper. We are not going to do the record the question, so you can cross that box off. We are going to start with R, which is restate the question. So it's actually telling us to do something. It's not really a question. It's saying, explain in your own words what led Fernando to confess. So instead, I'm going to make that a sentence. Fernando decided to confess. Okay, I could say, Fernando decided, felt guilty. Actually, I could do felt guilty and decided to confess. So, all I did here was take my essay prompt and I changed it into a sentence. Fernando felt guilty, and decided to confess. Now I need to start talking about, it says explain what led him to confess. So I need to use my own words and I need to go back to what led him to confess. And we talked about this a little bit the other day. 1, he started feeling, so I'm just going to kind of jot it down. He started feeling guilty about lying with something else that led him to confess. Anna?
He knew that he wouldn't get the food if he was.
Okay, that he knew he wouldn't get the tortilla. And your sentences do not have to be the same as mine. Yours can be different. So he thinks if he would have told the truth, that he wouldn't have gotten the tortilla. Who's making him feel guilty? He feels guilty himself, but there's also other people that are making him kind of feel like he's second guessing himself. Yeah. Okay, so his cousins are staring at him. Oh, they know he did something wrong. His cousins are staring at him because they know he lied. How does he feel? He feels he deserves what? Because he lied, he feels he deserves some guilt. Okay, Fernando feels like he deserves. I don't know. Let's say Fernando knows he deserves punishment. A punishment. And what he's thinking for punishment, he's thinking is he's not going to be able to eat this meal. He's not going to get the tortilla. So, answering the question, I had to explain what led Fernando to confess. These are several things. Well, he started feeling guilty about lying. He wouldn't get the tortilla if he did confess. His cousins are staring at him because they know he lied, and then he knows that he deserves punishment for what he did. Now, for C for cite evidence, you're going to go back in the story. So I can use any of the sentence starters where in the text it says this. And then I can probably add that to one of these sentences. So I could say, in the text it says his cousins are staring at him. It does say that. Weren't they staring at him while he was eating the food? Or they were looking down, ashamed, and wouldn't look at him? The cousins were eating. You can also, since you have your textbooks in front of you, you can also go back and say on page, and then pick a page. So if I wanted to use, let's say I wanted to use Let's say that he started feeling guilty. On what page did he start feeling guilty?
22.
So if I go back and I start thinking about when he started feeling guilty, I want to say 193.
No, 192.
192 is when she handed him the plate filled with favorite food. It smelled delicious, but I was unable to eat. I looked up at Louisa and Mari, who were quietly picking at their food. I watched Mommy as she served herself and sat next to my aunts. I looked at my plate again. How could I enjoy it? Okay, so I'd say either 192 or 193. And I would say he started feeling guilty because he couldn't do what? He couldn't eat. He started feeling guilty. On page 192, he started feeling guilty because he couldn't eat. Knowing that. Okay? So, any of these cite evidences, really all it's saying is you need to have some, like, evidence sentences. So, these sentences are good. Just throw in the text that says this, on page this, I found it. I just need a couple of those, just so I know you actually went back in the story and found where this was at. You didn't just make it up. And then at the end, I need an ending sentence to tie it all together. So what did Fernando ultimately learn from this situation? There's kind of a moral to the story, or a message to the story. Hannah? Okay, so Fernando learned that it is wrong to lie, and you should always tell your parents the truth. Okay? Or something about that. Something about telling the truth and not lying. Your sentence could be different from mine. But in the end, the moral of the story, or the lesson that was learned here, was Fernando learned that he should always tell the truth to his parents. And he should lie. He ultimately lying that he did it. Even though he would have gotten away with the lie, had he not confessed. Unless it's covered. So, this is the essay notes. Again, these are just to help you. Then tomorrow you can use this to put into a paragraph to write your own essay. Your essay has to be 5 to 6 sentences long, and it needs to answer the essay.